It's in the Asteraceae family, but I couldn't find what it was actually called.
Oh.
But it's very identifiable with that
I
little
know,
tiny
the
flowers.
little yellow, I know. I always put it out, it's growing everywhere.
Oh, it's.
I didn't know.
The problem with the greens is that it doesn't have a lot of calories. And so, yes, it's very healthy and
But it is
whatnot.
beneficial.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know. keep
And you
your
don't need as many calories when you get a lot of minerals. You're not as hungry.
Yeah, and these do have a lot of minerals. The plantain is also good for detoxing.
And skin.
Yeah, it's even been known
Right.
to take,
Cancer? Or what?
no, snake bite. You can paste it up and put it on snake bite and it'll draw it out, but you gotta keep replacing it because it draws it out. And the guy who found out it was okay for snake bite was also eating it at the same time. So it takes it out of your system. So
Now, what plan, are you gonna start over again, or?
No, we'll just keep going. That sounds good.
All right, now.
Well, I'll start over. That's an aside. The main thing that the hurricane up there in North Carolina showed was the need for water filtration, because I mean they were out of energy and out of water, and you can go quite a ways without energy, but you can 3 days.
Water, yeah.
3 days. So they sell all kinds of things that filter water so that you don't even have to boil it or treat it with chlorine or anything. This is like a life straw kind of thing. Dorothy had a bunch of these. I inherited them.
But where do you get, where would we get water? We can take ocean water, but you need to
No,
desalinate.
actually, the golf course water, the lagoons, that kind of thing.
Lagoons,
Yeah.
it's
I
wash,
mean,
I mean,
that's why if you
salt
pre-filter
water.
it, if you pre-filter anything with dirt or grass or stuff, then your other means of filtration will last longer. And you can also pre-filter and then put a couple drops of chlorine in it. I like to use this stuff you can get on Amazon that makes chlorine dioxide. And chlorine dioxide is also good for killing parasites and whatnot. So, I mean, I make it by mixing these two in a cup, putting the distilled water around the cup, closing it up. You put equal parts in there, close it up with distilled water, and it'll turn yellow. You leave it overnight, or 36 hours or whatever, and then you do it again if you really want to make the chlorine dioxide strong. And what you get is this, which, if you want to smell it, it smells like chlorine. Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
I mean, is there a way to write this down? I didn't bring it, because
It'll be online.
Oh, it will be? Okay.
The other thing I like is iodine solution. I just put some on my poison ivy and it takes all the itch out.
Really? Wow, I didn't know
So,
that.
yeah, Lugol's iodine, very good stuff.
Could you say where you bought it and what the name of it is, that brand?
Lugol?
It doesn't have a brand, I get it on eBay. Lugol's 5% solution.
L-U-G-O-L?
You can also buy it at Tractor Supply.
Oh, cool.
Not Lugol's maybe,
L-U-G-O-L-S.
but 5 or 10%, whichever you want.
You can get 10%?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're cool. See, perfect. And then I make colloidal silver, which I use as a mouthwash and a deodorant.
Teeth, right? Teeth.
Teeth and deodorant, yeah. And then the Pure Gum Spirits of Turpentine. Conway was the big maritime turpentine maker, and they had it down. They would collect the sap, and then it's a very low fire distilling process because you want what comes off, and you want to leave the water behind. So, but turpentine is a great.
Comes from a tree, right?
Yeah.
Pine tree.
Pure Gum Spirits of Turpentine. The best tasting one I've had is this.
Now you drink it, you mean?
You don't.
Every evening a little nightcap.
No, I use it like this. I
You gotta
just.
do it very carefully.
Yeah, and you want to have good bowel movements when you're doing it. So you take some sugar.
Oh, that sugar, I thought that was granulated
I have-
turpentine.
I have to label everything, because it's
That
all
is-
white stuff or clear stuff or whatever. And then you just take and,
Tell them how this was an old slave remedy.
this was an old slave remedy, that when the
On
owner,
plantations, they would go to the old, whether you called the mammy or whatever, when they were sick, really sick.
when
and
the
they-
other
they-
doctors had given up on them.
And they would, and she would give them something that would help them recover. And recently, a woman named Jennifer Daniels, a doctor, who's black, she started to research. She'd heard this so many times, she started researching to find out what was that those black grandmas on the plantations were giving people. And it turned out it was this turpentine. And this is how they did it too, with the sugar.
Yeah, now you can add some castor oil if you don't have good, if you don't have good,
If you're really a trooper.
if you're,
If it doesn't taste good enough.
It deworms you. It's
It deworms you.
It's an anti,
parasitic.
parasitic. And that's, yeah.
It theoretically, there are two ways to get rid of, to detox. One is to use coffee enemas for the water-based toxins, and the other one is turpentine for the oil-based toxins.
And her protocol is online.
Her protocol is called the Candida Cleaner, the Candida Cleaner Report. And it's free. You can go, I mean, I'm sure it's a lot of places now. But you would take this and then,
Oh, my
walk it down with a little water.
I'm glad we have somebody demonstrating, somebody else.
Well done.
I heard a program on the radio today about witches. I mean, is it related somehow?
Yeah, no, I mean, the ivermectin does take care of, parasites too. Everything they recommend, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, all the stuff.
Turpentine.
Turpentine, they're all anti-parasitics. Oh, and also MMS.
By the way,
Yes.
if you look up that
Chlorine
turpentine, it has to be a very special, pure kind of turpentine.
Yeah, it has to be
Not
100%.
regular turpentine.
100% pure gum spirits
Right.
of turpentine.
Right, and if you look up one of the brands that's recommended on Amazon, the comments, they're talking about this, how to do this. I mean, they're talking about Jennifer Daniels, the
Yeah.
doctor that did the
original research.
original research.
I mean, she just had a patient come in, because she would ask all her patients, and because she was working in the Syracuse ghetto, finally one came in and said, "Oh, you must be talking about, turpentine and sugar." And she goes, "Oh, and who recommended?" "My grandmother. She used to, every time somebody got sick, turpentine and sugar." "Oh, well, has she passed away?" "No, she's 92, lives by herself, cleans, cooks." So,
Right.
Easy.
yeah, so she tried different doses and came out with a teaspoon to 3 teaspoons of sugar.
You said something about you should be regular when you do it, or it makes you
Yeah,
regular, or?
because you're freeing up a lot of toxins. You want those out of the system. You want everything processed through the bile and into the intestines. The first, second, and fifth times I did it, things came out that shouldn't be in there. So
Tell us more.
we'll just pass on that. I mean, I do it like maybe once or twice a month, something like that, once every other month.
What does Jennifer recommend, doesn't she?
She actually, I still think she does it twice a week, but she lives in Panama, and I mean, we got less
Well, they have a lot of
parasites.
parasites.
Yeah, so,
I just want to mention that.
she does ivermectin once a month and then
Wow.
turpentine twice a week.
There's a Sidney Poitier movie, and he is raising a daughter, and there's one point where he talks about giving his daughter turpentine and maple syrup. And it's just a line, it's in the script, and it's old black folk
Yeah.
medicine.
Yeah,
And the movie was from the 50s.
yeah.
Well, when I was early days in Race Path, there was, I had a cold, and one of the mothers of the community, the elders, made a pine needle
Yeah,
Well, that's very
it's
related.
It
It's
is?
related.
Okay.
I once made honey from pine, but then I read there's something very,
No, there was,
it wasn't that healthy, so I threw it away.
oh no,
After I took
pine
a
needle
little-
tea, used throughout Eastern Europe. I mean, it's very popular to keep things clean. The thing about MMS is some of the,
What is MMS?
chlorine dioxide.
Uh-huh.
It's also known as miracle solution, something miracle solution.
Uh-huh.
It was discovered by a group of explorers that came down with malaria. They all came down with malaria, and they all thought they were going to die, and all they had was water treatment. And they mixed it together, put it in water, and they all survived. And then it went from there. And, yeah, so chlorine dioxide. But a doctor, former surgeon, was doing live blood cell analysis, and she hadn't brought her MMS with her. She takes it every day. I mean, I don't take it every day, whatever. But her live blood cell were tiny little parasites in her blood. And she said, hold on. She went and got her MMS, took it. 15 minutes later, they take another blood sample, like 90% of them were gone. So it's got some, it's got some interesting, I mean, these are all, if you lose your pharmaceutical contacts, these are reasonable things to consider.
When they make pine needle tea, is it with dried needles or green needles?
They usually dry stuff.
Okay.
They usually dry it. Yeah. Oh, and the other thing after water was money up there in North Carolina. And so I went out and got $100 worth of ones, because that's what they needed the most, was $1 bills, because they didn't have change. So, and the bank was not, I said, well, what's a bag full? What's the unit? He said $100, and I said, okay, give me $100 worth of ones. That's short term. They were also, some stores were taking silver, 365 silver, which is 90% silver, that was minted in this country. And these are dimes. They're now worth about $2 they have about $2 worth of silver in them. The 50-cent pieces are worth 5 times that. So what is that? That's $10 worth. So a 50-cent piece is about $10. And ever since 1986, the U.S. Mint is also producing pure silver coins, or 99.9% silver. And these are called silver eagles. And less people know about this. So in a medium-term kind of thing, if you run out of stuff, most of your farmers are going to know what this is. They may not know what this is. So, but this should work for a while.
Did you say that in Asheville they were taking dimes in lieu of $2?
They were taking silver.
Silver.
It just
yeah.
had a sign on the window, "We'll take silver." So, if you don't have cash, and everything, the electric was down, so you had to use cash. And they said that the best cash to have was ones.
Wow.
So if you go in with silver dimes,
Yeah.
and let's say it's a reputable store, what's the exchange rate?
Well, it's whatever you can
Okay.
exchange. But a single dime now, face value-wise, based on the silver content and today's spot price, is worth about maybe $20, $21, $22, something like that. A dime, one dime.
Oh,
Oh, no, I'm sorry, $2.
I think.
$2, $2.20. So, and this would be worth about, probably about $11 per 50-cent piece. And this is anything prior to 65, so there's a ton of silver got printed in 1964. So a lot of times you'll find 64. The 64 $half were mostly Kennedy.
So how much did you recommend having on hand
What? For,
of money, just for
well, I mean,
$100 and?
yeah, I mean,
Just a few shopping bags.
yeah, I mean, $100, you know, you trade it for 100 ones, you still got $100. So it's, I mean, I happen to have 5, 10s, 20s, 50s, 100s, that kind of thing too. But that's for short-term use, because long-term, if, well, I don't want to get political, but we seem to be trying to undermine the dollar worldwide, and in which case, if we lose reserve currency so that people don't have to hold it, all those dollars are going to come back, and they may become marginalized, in which case we may have to go back to the old silver and gold standard.
Rubles.
Anyway,
Let's get some
but that's,
rubles, let's go to Russia.
yeah, Russia has started putting silver in its strategic metal supply. So, and India, there's actually going to be a 200 million ounce shortfall on silver this year. In other words, between the amount in solar panels and whatnot, and the other uses, a lot of electricity, it's the most conductive metal, so a lot of uses are for silver. And with Russia putting it in its strategic supply, it's going to be, well, it's obvious, it's gone up, what, 30% this year, something like that.
Well, what about the BRIC nations?
They're still, look, it took 14 years from 1944 to 1958 to fully incorporate the previous system, the Bretton Woods system. They're gonna probably take at least, you know, I can't see it happen before 5 or 6 years, and then it will be just an alternative to the dollar system. But we can at any point, because we're screwing around with the dollar a lot. You know, we're knocking people off our system so they can't transact. So it's really encouraged them to form a parallel system. Oh, and this is what started this whole thing, because John Leiter wanted to know about Yaupon. Yaupon is also called prairie coffee. And so if you run out of coffee, you just can strip this down, dry it out, or toast it. Jeff and Judy use it as toasted.
Really? You drink that?
Yeah. And it grows, I mean, this was just,
Great.
I got out of the
Tastes
car.
like green
The hedge going into Del Ruba is all Yaupon.
How does it spell? Y-O-U-P-O-N?
Y-A-U-P-O-N.
Y-A-U.
Like Yaupon
Yaupon,
is.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, how do you pronounce it?
Yaupon.
That's what I
Yaupon.
always, yeah. Everybody else wants to point
think
and
I have
say
some
it
in my
differently. It's
yard.
Yaupon.
No, it's very possible. It's very possible.
probably do.
It's all around Baba's house, Baba's legume cabin. It's all around Del Ruba. Everywhere I look on the center, there's tons of this
So
stuff.
what the benefits of this?
It's got caffeine, and
That's all
what Jeff reminded
caffeine,
me.
that's it? I mean, not like green tea.
It is like, it's almost
tastes
exactly
like
like green tea, because it's got the caffeine and it has theanine in it, which is a mood
Theanine.
lifter.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's in green tea also, it's a mood lifter.
Yeah, I
It
have
tastes a
theanine
little
pills
better
at
than green
home.
tea.
Supplement.
Can you say something about the
Green tea
solar
is
panel?
made from
Oh, yeah.
canola leaves.
Yeah,
The other
yeah,
thing
yeah,
was
right,
energy.
right. But that's
Well,
different.
before, you were gonna say Yaupon has caffeine and it has something else.
Theanine.
Theanine.
Oh, is it theanine?
Theanine.
The thing is, you don't want to take too much of it. Its name, its Latin name is actually, it's a member of the Ilex family, which is holly, but it's Ilex vomitoria.
Yeah, but, you know, the part that makes you,
Caffeine plant
That's what Jeff said, yeah.
The
in North
part-
America?
It's the only caffeine plant in North America. The pioneers used it. I know, I did the same
the
thing.
only part that makes you vomit is the berry.
Yeah, we should share a
You
cup.
can't eat
Let's
the
make a
berry,
cup
the
of
berry
tea.
will make you vomit.
Oh, okay.
You can drink as much of the tea, it's just like green tea, it won't hurt you, But you don't want
I
to
love
eat the
when I
berry, it will
learn
make
something.
you vomit.
You don't
But the
want-
Indians
But
used
I was
to
the
drink
same way
it
as
to
Gerald.
vomit,
When
because
I
it was
heard
part of their
its
purging.
Latin name was Ilex vomitoria, I said, maybe we don't want to have too much of this.
It's,
Judy,
it
can you-
tastes better than tea.
If you're filming
Cool.
this, can you edit out what
Well-
I'm gonna say next? Center's gonna have to have center workers watching out for this. This is like on Seclusion Hill, you
Well,
can't take any rocks anymore, you
if
know, any
you-
of the stones. The hill will disappear. Pretty soon there won't be any
The
more. You'll
the
climb.
problem with a lot of the greenery is that it doesn't have enough calories to keep you going in a kind of a survival situation. And so you really need to augment. But, as we all know, sometimes a cup of coffee or a cup of tea will also pick you up. So, in lieu of calories.
It's antioxidant too.
Does it have little red berries too?
Yeah, don't eat the
But
berries.
don't eat the berries,
I
unless
think
you
there's a
want.
male and a female, and the female has berries.
Yeah, because we just found some in my yard.
Well,
I
don't-
checked it and it was
Don't, you can eat the leaves from the female.
Yeah, but not
the
the
berries.
rest.
And that's typical, just like this. This is Schmilax, Smilax.
I won't put it in the chai for
This,
Sundays.
Thank
you
you.
can take when it's growing, you can take the tip off. And this is the smaller version, but both of them have this kind of bulbous root. So when you
Yeah.
dig it up,
Right.
and some of them, the bigger bulbous roots, they'll go, 50 foot up the tree. But if you can get them when they're 6 feet high and you break off that tip, it's a lot like asparagus.
That's what Ralph Hernandez always,
That's
he
right.
made pasta with,
That's right.
with the
Who
shoots
did?
of this, and he
Ralph-
said it's like asparagus. Or
Ralph
whatever.
Hernandez.
Oh, cool. This is how to identify it. But you also, when you start,
Two grows in my
If you
yard.
want to get rid
See,
of
you're
it,
ready.
you gotta dig up the roots.
You all come
Yeah.
over.
Don't cut it if you want to get rid of it. Dig up
Yeah,
the
the
tubers.
roots.
yeah, you gotta dig up the tubers.
I
Otherwise-
like my weeds, man.
Oh, I know, I know.
Thorny, they're
And,
not,
and I'll
you know.
cut this to encourage next spring's growth.
Yeah.
And when it gets about 5 feet tall,
Yeah.
You eat it.
I'll eat it.
There's an
Asparagus.
area in the back of my yard that's just exclusively for these kinds of things. Whatever wants to grow, I let it.
It's a,
And
it's a very good medium-term survival food.
So you say you dig up the tubers.
Oh, well, that's just to identify it?
Oh.
Yeah. You'll see this.
I think the tubers are edible, but I don't
I
know.
think, I heard that too. Yeah, I
Really?
think they are. I've never
Okay.
eaten them though.
But if it looks like that, you wouldn't have to dig up the tubers to see if that's the right one.
That's right, that's right. And the other one is so easily identified because it shoots up like, it'll be 5 feet high in a week.
And, yeah.
And,
can I ask, there's some versions of that have a spike on them. I have.
yeah, that's it.
That's the same thing, if it's bigger, it would have a
It's a
spike?
different, in the same family.
So I could use that too.
Yeah,
I
well,
have
that's even better. I like those better because they're bigger and they taste, and also you break it off and it'll maybe send up a couple more, from the next leaf down or the next spike down, whatever. Or it'll send,
If you cut something during the waxing moon, it will grow faster. Increases the
oh,
growth.
yeah. Yep.
At the full moon or waning,
Yep.
you keep the growth down.
Yep. It's funny because with colloidal silver, you want to do it during the waning moon. It seems to, but those are just, that's, David Stoiber was supposed to be here and he knows all about moons and,
It's in
What?
biodynamic.
yeah, biodynamic stuff. Now this, I just pulled up this morning. This is my favorite plant that David Stoiber,
Yeah.
Irene, it came from Irene Short's, the original roots, which came from Alma Nagar. So, yeah, so, but this is all,
His mother is spreading the plants all over
Hiding
the
it in
world.
there for sure
Cactus
vests.
and,
and this, it's a beautiful plant. You just break these off, and I just put them in a brown paper bag over winter in a cool place, and then come spring, those little nodules will start to sprout.
Oh, yeah,
Just
like
throw them in the
sweet
ground.
potatoes.
But I use so much of it that,
So, but it's blood thinning, isn't it, turmeric?
it's very good for joint pain, for joints.
Cancer,
I don't
isn't
know,
it?
Yeah,
is it?
it's good.
I mean, turmeric, I think is one of the, it's a universal herb.
Inflammation.
I slice it and put it in my coffee water every morning. So,
Really?
So that's a turmeric plant.
That's a turmeric plant.
Okay.
And you just break these off, and then you can,
And you say you
Just-
dry it out over the winter? Is that what
well,
it's
I,
happening?
yeah,
Keep-
just
Or is
slow
pot-
dry it.
Or is it potentizing it by doing that?
Not really. I mean, I didn't, for me, I was supposed to, when they started to sprout a little bit in there, in the bottom of my bag, I should have collected them all, put them in the refrigerator to slow it down. So now I've got partially sprouted turmeric in my refrigerator, because I finally realized, but they dry out. But every
And
year.
they get much bigger than this. If you let it in the ground, they get
Yeah.
bigger and fatter.
This was just one on the outskirts of my little spot.
So what's the difference between turmeric and curcumin? Because I thought
Curcumin
there's
is in turmeric.
So it's just,
That's what I use for joint pain, is if I've got or a headache, I use curcumin, where it's been concentrated.
Larry, if you have an oversupply, how could we get some of the roots to plant ourselves? Or
Yeah, I'll have some next spring.
I'll have some before then. Whoever
Okay.
wants it, I'll give you, I've got a lot.
You got a lot.
Does
Yeah.
it spread on it once it gets going?
Oh,
Does
yeah.
it spread?
In fact, that's
It
how I
likes
got
it
mine.
here.
David Stover tried to get rid of it.
Really?
He was trying to
It
pull it
likes
out.
it. So I'll bring, you two guys wanted some, right?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I
You want
planted
some?
2 6-foot rows, and
You have some.
I got enough turmeric for
liking
like
it.
a year and a half.
Wow.
They're
So,
related.
and that's using it all the time.
Have you cultivated the soil though? Or have you just put it in the soil behind wherever you're planting it?
No, Judy and Jeff have done a wonderful job.
No, but you growing yours, where
That's where I grow it.
you're near me, so we would have the same soil.
No,
unless you
no.
augmented.
I'm living out where Judy and Jeff live. I live in their chicken yard.
He used to live with Dorothy. Dorothy's gone.
I used to live with, speaking of Dorothy, this is what I discovered at Dorothy's, was this thing that looks a lot like dandelion. And I tried to look it up, and it's in the same family. I'm pretty sure it's Asteraceae, but it doesn't have I couldn't find a name for it, but it's,
Well, let me
If
see
you
if
look
I
up
can.
eye
There's little yellow
natural, eye.
flowers.
I have
the
this
little
app.
yellow flowers
it's
at
a
the
weed
top.
that's everywhere.
And-
I have that app.
And for years, I would have, well, another thing Jennifer Daniels said was
Gerbera daisy.
Gerbera daisy.
Gerbera.
Peachy.
Gerbera daisy.
To be here.
It's not Gerber daisy, is it?
Non-toxic to humans and pets.
Oh, good.
So what's the
In
next?
case you needed to know, in case you wanted to make sure you weren't dead yet.
Because it,
African daisies.
oh, cool, African daisies. Oh, wonderful, I'll call it that.
It's related to Gerber daisies.
Gerber
Probably
daisy.
Gerbera.
Yeah, I mean, they're all the daisies are in the Asteraceae family, so it's,
But is it edible, you think?
oh, I know it. I ate it for 2 years at Dorothy's, and that was 4 years ago. For 2 years, I'd go out the back door and eat that,
Cool.
Just
No
as a
wonder you're
green.
so healthy.
just as a green. She used to advocate eating 5 wild or fresh things a day, 5 fresh leaves.
Greens.
5 green leaves every day, because she said it would orient your biota, the stuff, the gut stuff, to whatever, it would orient you into the environment. So for a couple of years, because it's so, this stuff is on the way to my tiny house at Jeff and Judy's. That's where I picked it up from.
So what are the other 4 that Dorothy ate? What was about?
No,
there,
this
or-
was it. I just would eat
No,
5
but
of
you say
these.
5 different kinds? of
No,
green?
just
Whatever you
5, just
can
5
find.
leaves.
Oh, I see.
You take,
Or lamb's quarters or whatever you.
yeah.
Or
I looked for
plantain.
lamb's quarters, but they're gone now.
Yeah.
It's good. It's better than dandelion.
Or plantain, you can
I
eat
see.
those too.
Yep. This is a little bitter, but if you've ever had
But you
dandelion.
need bitter.
I
You
love
need
bitter.
bitter,
I
right?
love
That's
bitter.
right.
It's
I
good
love
for your
And,
gallbladder.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
right.
Isn't this one particular lettuce?
You have to be careful.
Oh, yeah, no. Wild lettuce is,
That has opium
it's,
in it.
yeah, it's got the equivalent of opium in it. I mean, it's not opium.
Pancreas, I
And
think.
what symptoms did you have after you ate?
I'm gonna go vegetarian.
I know, it contracts.
It looks a lot, wild lettuce looks a lot like big dandelion. But, I mean, it's got a very white, what is it, sap.
Sap.
Yeah, and
What are you talking about? I lost
wild
my-
lettuce,
Has opium.
White lettuce?
it has
wanted to
an
get
equivalent reactive thing. I don't think it's actually opium. But
It's similar, but you'd have to refine it to really get into
Yeah,
opium. But, it could be used as a mild pain thing,
Okay.
And
soap and
plantain.
willow.
I think it's probably the mildest of the wild stuff.
Is
Isn't
what?
it? The mildest?
The mildest of the wildest.
The mild, I can't talk.
So
I don't have
that's
enough teeth.
plantain.
That's plantain.
Yeah. That's good for bug bites,
It's
snake
also where
bites.
you get
He was
the-
talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
But, if you get bit by a bug, you can just kind of chew it up a little bit and slap it on.
Slap it on.
Interesting.
Or for
Oh, that's the one for snake bite.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or skin problems, I
There's
think
something-
eczema, isn't it?
There's something
Yeah.
called sow thistle, that
Oh.
it's very similar, but the leaves are shaped more like the dandelion leaf,
Uh-huh.
but it's got
Oh, I
the tall
know.
stem with the
Yeah,
yellow,
yeah.
like dandelion flower.
Yeah.
And those are specifically good for irritations.
Oh, wow.
You mash up the leaves.
And the psyllium husk
Put it on.
comes from that plantain, right? Psyllium,
I don't
And it
know.
was one of the
Yeah.
original Bach
you know the-
remedies I found.
That's really cool.
topped with the seeds, that get seeds. Psyllium
I-
husk. from
Psyllium husk.
plantain.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Well, psyllium is, very good for fiber, to keep you
Cleansing,
cleaned down.
cleaning, yeah.
But this, knowing that this is now African, what, daisy? African daisy? Because you can tell, because it has tiny flowers, little yellow flowers, or sometimes they're even white. They look a little pale, pale gray, kind of. But, gosh, I'm attracted to it. If you guys don't eat it, I will.
We haven't offered to have a salad leaf.
Oh, please, come up and have a
Well,
leaf.
who brought that? Who brought the?
I know, we should
plantain?
have a
Oh, I did. I just,
leaf party.
the plantain grows right next to where I park my car. So I just dug up some, and then the other stuff grows on the way back off the walkway. So I just dug that up and put it in there a few days ago so that it was established. And then with the rain last night, it looks beautiful.
Yeah, it does.
Really, some beautiful weeds.
So speaking of
Doesn't
where
take
you
much
park
to
your
make them
cars,
happy.
Yeah.
Such an out-
at the orchard on the center,
They
Yeah.
go barefooted all the time.
there are these,
He and his brother.
they're not weeds, the mullein plant. Have you
Oh,
seen
yeah.
that?
Yeah, that's
And I
very
bought-
good,
I
very
borrowed
good.
some of the leaves
Good
from
for
the
a
center.
cough.
Sure.
Migrated them.
I
Yeah.
migrated.
Yeah, very good for lung
Respiratory,
stuff,
that's what
yeah.
I heard, and it worked.
Yeah, lung stuff. Mhm. Yeah, you can, when they go to seed, there's some over by off the old highway, what is that called, Kings Highway. And I saved the seed for years. I never got around to planting it.
Sounds familiar.
And this is an interesting plant. This is Florida Bentony. Now, if you can,
Never heard of that.
it's hard to tell. I mean, these are the leaves, but they're connected to are these little tubers. And if there's
Yeah,
any,
right. It's also a terrible weed when it spreads like.
Yeah, yeah, it
that.
spreads like-
Crazy. Little
spreads-
radishes,
yeah, they look
Little
like,
Joel Mednick, he ate them. He went,
Oh,
we
really?
Oh,
once
yeah.
were here. He
Yeah,
chops
no.
them up and he marinated them.
oh, I ate them. They're,
They look like mint.
They're like
They're-
little radishes,
they will actually get as long as small carrots. I mean, Adrian's yard has quite a supply.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
We're always trying to dig them up. But the way I harvest them is I look for the top, the leaves, and then I take a big shovel and
Right,
turn it
right,
over.
right.
If you've got a number of them right together, you'll pull up half a dozen Florida Bentony tubers.
Yeah.
And I know Judy's tried them.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah,
They're kind of nutty. They're like a water chestnut sort of type
yeah,
almost.
they're not as spicy as a radish.
They look.
And I got up to 7 or 8 before I sort of said, nah, you know. But they represent bulk, and so much of this stuff doesn't, so. And then, the king of plants, the thing that in the Middle Ages when the crops failed, this is nettle, stinging nettle.
I heard that's like a miracle, a
Yeah.
power.
Yeah,
herb.
even today, it's considered one of the most nutritious plants.
Really? Wow.
So stinging nettle, it doesn't grow wild around here that I've seen. Luckily Judy has cultivated it, and it loves her yard.
Yeah, it's a Milarepa. He just lived on stinging nettles and he turned green.
He turned green,
Well,
but it
That's what
is.
they said.
I mean, the old thing is, when the crop failed, they turn around and say, well, it's another year of nettle stew.
Yeah.
But I always thought that nettles combined with these tubers would make a decent stew.
Yeah.
and
Nettle-
turmeric, and a
nettle
little
soup.
turmeric.
A little
color, you
turmeric.
know.
Yeah.
Yellow
Judy,
tinge.
what do you use your stinging nettle for?
My nettles, I harvest them and I dry them and then I powder them, and they're very good for prostates, if you have any prostate.
Really?
Yeah, they help prostates, and they're just very highly nutritious.
You have silicone, right? from here.
I don't
think
know, I
it's-
don't know if they do, maybe, but they are very nutritious, and you can make a soup out of them, and they're actually, people used to use them for arthritis too, because when they had a sore joint, they'd sting their joint. These things sting, no joke, they sting. Anybody want to?
Fire.
You can
Try
take
it.
the tops by going underneath and picking them, I've heard.
They'll be
I
tingly,
use gloves.
stingy.
I
Yeah.
use gloves.
So do you boil the leaves, or you boil the leaves and the tumors?
She dries them.
I dry them and use them as a tea. I make, Jeff and I have a nettle, he has his particular tea. I have nettles, moringa, and I make turmeric, ginger, and cinnamon. And I mix that all together. That's my
I actually
morning
grew
tea.
some ginger this year, because
They're all
Yeah.
blood thinning, all
I-
of those. Cinnamon, ginger, and turmeric are all blood thinning.
Yeah.
So if you're blood type O, I don't think it's so great. I mean, that's true, that blood type O is not it's,
You're not
what is it called? I forget.
compatible?
It's thinner, it doesn't,
Oh, really?
like
Oh,
blood type
doesn't
A
have-
is different, and
That it
O
gets more
is-
clots.
Yeah,
It-
A
Well,
is more, so
Because
for
I
A,
Oh,
do,
the-
I do form
Blood
clots. I
tissue,
know that.
we have to buy.
this is what,
cartloads of
this
it.
is,
My mother.
whenever we have a storm coming, I mean, it's my theory that if the dollar dies, we may have to move to toilet tissue as a form of exchange. Because what do people go to? They stock up on toilet paper. So it's a scarce resource.
but it's so big, it's compared to a dime, it's too big.
Yeah, but under a barter situation, just think what you could get for a roll of toilet paper.
I'll give you a
Such a
dime
big
for that roll of
case.
toilet
See,
paper.
that's
Silver
right.
dime.
Yeah, you just back and forth. I like canned beans because beans take up too much power, and
Water
it's,
too.
but this is nice because it can recharge when you've got electric, and then discharge, and
What is it?
and this is a battery and transformer that can take 110 in, give you 12 volts out, or 110 in and 110 out. So it's got a series of transformers, and it can also recharge using a solar.
That's a solar
So how much
panel.
will that run? I mean.
I mean, they're coming down in price.
Oh,
A few years ago, this combination was $800.
Was how much?
800.
so I actually meant how much, what will it power in terms of? what-
Well, it's charged
Mostly
at
I
home.
have it because everything is for flashlights and whatnot. So I have rechargeable AA batteries,
Yeah.
phones, laptops. It actually will also power, one of those dorm refrigerators. So you could keep things pretty cold. As long as you can get it below 37 degrees,
It's not bad.
they'll keep pretty well.
That might be a good
So,
idea.
I've seen that advertised, I think because of the searches that I do, it's come up on my
Yeah.
smartphone, in between something I want to read. That's OXMO,
I got
okay.
Okay, Emma.
And this was a well-reviewed brand
I
3
know,
years ago.
You know, another time we
And
should
that's when I
we should
got
do
it.
this right.
They have other ones now that might
'Cause I
be cheaper.
didn't think of all these things I could share.
And
This
is
is a
your,
1,000-watt system, they have 2,000-watt systems.
Because if you have
That's-
ice
that's-
or grains,
that-
it
that's
will
enough.
vary.
Where do you buy
Yeah,
them,
because
Larry?
you said you
What's
can
that?
chew
Where do you
the
buy
raw
them?
grains of ice.
Uh,
You can
It's
survive
online.
it.
I got that online,
It's
yeah,
so-
at,
so-
Right.
And then
I think
Put them
Amazon,
in the
I
sun.
got,
I think it was
I got
Acmo,
from Japan.
or maybe from the Acmo site.
Like New York.
Oh, it was from the Acmo site, because they had a sale going on. It still cost me $800.
It's stainless
but-
steel outer
yeah.
container.
You didn't tell us about the
Small inner
sauerkraut.
container.
Oh, yeah, it's salt.
Started on the
During the
stove.
Depression, salt was a big deal
Right.
because they could preserve stuff. This sauerkraut is
Even if
actually,
you have fire.
when I just moved, it's
Yeah.
2 years old.
So you start
And
out,
I just,
you know, cooking.
with 2 tablespoons of salt
And
and
it's-
a quart of
Yeah,
water,
and it's
I just
it's
drink the
totally,
juice.
nice,
I drink the
insulated.
sauerkraut juice,
I know.
then I mix up some brine,
have a
Heat
pressure
for
cooker.
8
put it
hours.
in, put it back in, put it in the windowsill
Yeah,
for
but this
another
will hold the
day or
heat for
2,
maybe 8,
and then
6
put it
hours,
back in the
8 hours.
refrigerator.
This thing
Are the probiotics still?
Probiotics, yeah,
After 2 years and all that?
yeah, and it's still good, it doesn't,
If you
the salt,
cook
see, the
rice,
salt
let's say 10, 15
inhibits
minutes,
that kind of,
Yeah.
the further breakdown using,
It's not
Mildew.
too salty when you drink it or eat it or?
Yeah,
I mean, I
How
don't
salty?
know, but I mean,
Yeah.
let's
No.
eat it with vegetables. It's not-
Could you repeat that, 2 tablespoons of salt for how much water?
a quart.
1 quart. And then you add raw cabbage and you let it marinate? Can you say that whole
Yeah,
process
for,
again?
36 hours or 2 days, something like that. Just keeping it below the level of the brine.
yeah.
And some people have ways of sealing off the air, but it really doesn't need it. You just need to keep it below the level of the brine. It'll form a kind of mold on top, and you take that off.
So after that, what do you do? How do you package it, or what is?
I
it?
put it in these old spaghetti jars.
And what kind of is that? Just water liquid in there, or is
No,
that?
that's brine.
Right,
That's,
okay.
that's some of the brine from making it.
Okay.
And then as I replace the brine, because I'm really just looking to keep my probiotics up,
Right.
I just replace the brine. I mean, sometimes I have the sauerkraut, but then I gotta make more.
So is it how you get the brine to the point of having brine is you're doing what you've just said, 2 tablespoons of salt to a quart of water, and your cabbage is below the top of the water.
Yeah, I mean,
And-
you've seen the old crocks.
Yeah,
They used to weight it down so it would go down in below the water. They put a plate on it with weight.
It's dumped on it.
and then after 2 days more or less, then it becomes, you have the brine that is created.
You know, salt
And-
and-
Yes,
And so do you just keep adding water to that, or?
I package it at that point, and I might set it out a little bit more if it's not, I like it a little bit effervescing,
So it's, yeah,
and then I put it in the refrigerator.
okay, but you keep reusing that same,
Yeah, this has got some of Adrian's shiso,
yes.
because it turns
Oh,
it slightly
yeah.
pink,
The perilla,
the
yeah,
perilla, yeah.
It's
So-
red cheese.
Oh,
yeah.
Now,
there's
what
some
is that?
shiso.
It's a plant,
So-
you know, the Japanese guy who lived above us, who had this restaurant, he moved out and he gave me shiso plants, but they were green. Then I read about it and I found out that
And they-
red is
Yeah,
used
but
more
they
than the
turn,
green,
they
right?
turn green, they turn red later.
Well,
in
mine
this-
didn't.
Well, mine
It just
did.
did
And
green.
they spread
So what
everywhere.
is
So
it?
Larry, I'm not
Shiso?
quite
Is it like
sure I
a
understand.
It's
cabbage?
just
When
like
you
a, no,
take
it's
some of that brine out and
I
drain
mean, mine,
it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you just
mine
add
did
water
like that
again,
tall.
that
No, I
melts?
add brine.
mine were
They
green.
spread everywhere.
So you
I
make
add some of
another
the
batch of brine.
mix, the 2 tablespoons.
spring,
You know, it's, sometimes I just add some salt and water, but I know what 2 tablespoons of salt is
I think
in
so.
a quart of water. I know
Shiso
what
is
that
what they
kind of
say.
tastes like.
Yeah.
So I just get it to that taste
And
and
that's what
pour it
the-
back in.
the
I only
color
get a
of the
little,
clones.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah,
they,
yeah.
4 ounces,
Put the
6
shiso
ounces of brine out.
that pink
So
color.
it's not hard to replace.
So you
it.
keep making fresh all the time, is essentially what you're saying, you're starting all over again.
Yeah, I haven't had any for a few months, so this has just been in the refrigerator. But it's, and usually, it smells like sauerkraut. And
All right, we're gonna have,
Yeah,
Chris show us his,
yes, because I'm done. That's
Go
good.
bag.
I have one more
That's enough.
question. You mentioned, can I ask one more question about the money? You mentioned $1 bills, but you also said, which I had heard a while back, about having $5 and $10 and $20 bills. So I'm gonna ask you why you have the larger denominations, and that's what I had heard a while back.
Because I don't know how long the short-term thing, I mean, if the short-term electrical problem turns into a medium-term electrical problem, then you're gonna need more cash.
Right, but then you have to change, let's say people are only taking I mean, what do you know?
No, they'll take, if you buy $5 worth and you have $5,
Then, okay.
they'll take a 5.
Got
But
it.
the problem was they didn't have change.
I
So
understand.
ones were actually going were worth more than $1.
You know who else doesn't have change? Rickshaw drivers in India.
But that's another story. Oh, my favorite stuff to store is rice, sardines, and coconut oil. Because
And
it's very
peanut
hard to
butter?
get.
I know,
Well,
I know.
I shop at Kroger, and when they have prices, I get some peanut
I
butter.
mean, that's also
Are we
considered a
brothers
wheat
lost
here,
it?
or-
Separated at birth.
But you can eat stuff that's very nutritious.
But how long will canned goods, like the sardines, how long would you keep them?
I'd keep them a couple years past the Best Buy.
Okay. I keep them even longer.
I think you can.
Yes, but-
I think you can. I ate 7-year-old rice this morning,
Well,
so,
the rice is different than
And
animal
fish
power.
in here.
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, if the can swells up, I'll.
Yeah.
if the can swells up.
Yeah.
Then,
But if the can looked okay,
you're going
would
to
you
have
eat
it.
a 7-year-old
Yeah.
can?
And the other thing,
I would, but I'm just.
the only other thing I want to mention is have another way to cook other than electric, is try to have a propane burner or a butane burner, even a camping stove, because, and they make some now. When I was looking for the type that I like, they're sold out everywhere. But they had some combination camping stoves that work on propane or butane, and that might be the way to go.
all right. Well, everybody can come over here, and Chris
Yep.
is gonna tell us about what a to-go bag is, right, Chris?
Yep.
What is a to-go bag?
I'm gonna see if you have in it one thing I read that you should have in it.
Oh, we'll find out. Tell me if I don't have it.
If you have it, we're all gonna laugh.
Oh, I don't think I have anything funny. So you tell. All right, so is it working? Okay. Well, I don't have as great a presentation as Larry. That was wonderful, Larry. But this is about a bug-out bag, and this is something you'll hear about a lot in any survival websites or stuff like that. And a bug-out bag is a bag that you keep in the closet, or some people in the trunk of your car, in case you have to suddenly leave the house or leave the car and survive for a couple of days, usually. And this is a really traditional bug-out bag in size, and it was very inexpensive. And I've never actually had to use it, but it's an actual military bag, and it's very comfortable, very nice, and it was only like $22. Wow. So online, okay. But I just want to say something. First of all, let me say that some of the stuff I'm going to be saying is kind of technical. You wouldn't know it, and the reason I know it is because a few of you might know John Foreman. He lives in Asheville. When I was 16 years old, he gave me a scholarship to go to a place called Knowles in Wyoming, and it was like a backpacking survival school, so for a month. And you go through the Rocky Mountains, and they teach you a lot of things that you wouldn't know. So I learned a lot there, and now that was a long time ago. So, some of these things you wouldn't just know just going to the store. Now, I just want to say something else about a bug-out bag. there's another use for a bag like this that's loaded with some basic stuff for a couple of days, and it's called a bug-in bag. And what that is let's say, I'll draw a scenario, let's say you're out in your car, maybe you even live in a city, and you're out away from your apartment or your house, and you're in the car, and everything breaks down. Electricity goes out, and the traffic is stopped, and it's all backed up, and the trains aren't running. At that point, you've got to get home. And now normally you could have driven home, but now it's like a couple-day trek. So if that ever happened, and you had something like this in the trunk, with a couple days of, some bottled water and just, like granola bars and things and in it, at a park, whatever you had. That's sort of the idea of a bug-in bag, making it home. So I read about that, and I thought, well, that's interesting. Now, we don't live in the city, but it could still happen if you're coming back from Conway and all the traffic suddenly stops because the traffic lights aren't working. And now, another sense of a bug-out bag is literally getting a backpack. Now, I've had all kinds of fancy backpacks before, but they're mostly not needed anymore. They've got an interior frame, and they're very inexpensive. And, I got this on Amazon. It actually expands quite a lot larger. It opens, it puffs out, and this rises. A bag like this, I bought it for $50, and I looked just today, and they're down to $39. So it's just amazing. Little children in China made it. It's really cute. No, I'm just kidding.
Is it waterproof?
No.
What's
Yeah.
what's the brand name there? Or whatever?
This one is advanced, but the brand names are changing all the time because it's a knockoff off-brand. Like I didn't get a Kelty or something like that. I got cheap because you don't need any more. You're going to use it maybe one time and you're going to toss it. Now, what I have at home, and I forgot to bring it, is for me actually in a bug-out bag. I have a very stuffable down quilt, a small down quilt, and it gets really small, and it's kind of all you need for a night or two out. A sleeping bag's kind of more than you need usually, but that's what I'd use if I was doing that, really. But I also have, if things really fell apart and I had to go out in the woods and survive, which I can't even really think of a scenario at the moment where that would happen, but I have the stuff for that. I want to say something about that. So this is about sleeping gear, and then I'll get into the supplies here. Now, this is funny because I just described a very light compressible sleeping quilt, and this is a humongous thing, bigger than most of polyester bags. But the reason I have this is because this is much, much more survivable than like a very expensive down bag. Because the moment the down bag gets damp, it doesn't serve you, you'll die of cold. It doesn't prevent cold, and it also doesn't give you any protection from the ground. And so I have and it's actually comfortable, and it's large enough for me. Now, the brand of this is called Wiggies, and the neat thing is they actually make these by hand in America, which is like the last bag that's like that. So, and they make them one at a time.
So out of curiosity, what about did you pay for that?
I paid about $200, I think. But a down bag would have definitely cost that. So it was fairly inexpensive, really. Now, this is a funny thing. This is something you can get at any Army surplus store, including Army surplus off the internet or even on Amazon, Army surplus. I gotta say something about this. This is something you wouldn't know. If you're in the military, this is what they put on the ground. Now, what they sell to like a fancy backpack stores is blow up mattresses and foam, and you might think you could use a yoga mat, but you can't. And the reason is because this is called closed cell foam. And this will prevent cold from killing you, from coming up from the ground. And if you were to just sleep in any sleeping bag straight on the ground and it was winter, you can get, the cold will get into your kidney and it could really make you sick. So even though this isn't very comfortable, the point of it is to protect you from, insulate you from the cold of the ground. And that you put on the floor of a tent or whatever, and it's extremely light. And if you ever, next time you see soldiers getting on a plane or something, or with their backpacks, this is what you'll see. Every one of them, and in every country, that's what they use, closed cell. And it's funny because they're much, 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 much cheaper than the things like a backpacking store. This is like $20 down in Surfside at the Army surplus store, or it was when I bought it. Okay, then I also have a tent. It's just a very nice tent, but I've never used it. I probably never will, unless I go camping with my daughter. Now I want to get to these little things. These are the kind of things you put in a bug-out bag. And this is, all these things are fascinating. Every one of them has a little story of how I learned about it and what I went through to buy it, and it's all very compressible. This is truly your bug. You know, in Asheville, these stories of these people, they're stuck. I'm not there, so I don't know. But it seems to me you would want to get just out of there. And as soon as you could go stay with a relative or something until it's over. So I would be trying to bug out any way I could. But I imagine, even in my being older, and it'd be hard. Just if I had to walk from the waist up, up to my waist in water, and get out of there and survive till I could get out of there. But anyway. So I can imagine doing this, but Myrtle Beach is a little different story. But we got inspired for this because of the Asheville incident, which sort of put this all in perspective. Okay, so I'm going to
North
the Asheville.
Carolina.
Inspired because of the Asheville.
We should say
Oh,
Helene,
Asheville,
because it's in a wide
the
area.
Asheville.
Helene, you know the storm.
Helene, Hurricane Helene. I didn't even know how to pronounce it. I've only read it.
Do you have a silver blanket, this rescue, the thin things that to keep you warm?
Yeah.
You have one of those?
Yeah.
I
I
forget what they're
have several of
called,
those.
rescue
So
or-
like she's talking about those rescue things. These are actually ponchos, and they don't weigh anything at all.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about having them is they're very cheap. You buy them in bundles. This does the same thing. I also have ones that you can make into a tent.
Reflective, the little silver reflective.
This is different from that.
Well,
No, I
just
know,
all
it's,
of them.
Yeah, it's
because
in
they're very
silver
important to keep you warm.
It's silver.
It's worth having,
Oh, yeah.
even if you never use it.
Oh, it has,
And I've used these.
Wow.
Go to Walmart, and they last a little while, a few days. But then, they get, so there you go.
Insulating.
Yeah, it insulates also. So this has all kinds of uses because it's entirely waterproof.
I was gonna say that.
It's totally your tent, but you don't even need a tent with one of these. Because you could just sit under, sit with your friends. Now, the nice thing about having a few of them is, they're not, you can give one to a friend. All right. But they also make these that are like for making a tent or just a tarp out of them. And that's a really nice one. Okay, now, I want to cover,
Chris, can we pass this around for people?
yeah, sure.
Can I just add something to what you're
Yes,
saying?
please.
Myrtle Beach in its own sense is a different story, but if there's a hurricane that hits or a
Yeah.
tsunami, which could happen at any time, and you didn't evacuate and you're in your house, I was in this situation when we had it was freezing rain, been cold under 40 degrees for days. Somebody's limb fell on my street on a transformer. We had no electricity for 36 hours. It was freezing cold. If you guys want to listen, all of this stuff is invaluable for having,
Oh, that's nice of you to say.
even without being in a huge flood. A hurricane's a flood.
Right.
I mean, I had 24 inches of water behind my house when one of the hurricanes didn't even come on shore, but was offshore. So these things are fairly inexpensive. A lot of what Chris is showing us is fabulous to have done all of this work. Thank you.
Thank you.
But, I mean, there are lots and lots of situations, and it takes up very little room.
Yeah,
And if you
very,
spend
very
$100,
Exactly.
I mean, I wouldn't not have some of this stuff.
Absolutely.
in
I
my
spent
house.
about $15 on about 5 of those. But the thing is also about this, if you ever see a show and they get a person out in the wilderness, the first thing they do is they wrap them in one of these.
Yes.
Because it's funny, you would think it'd be a big blanket, but this is even better because it holds in the heat.
I used to have these.
There's a show on TV called Naked and Afraid, and so when people bug out, and they can't take it anymore, and the medics come, they've always got one of these, they wrap them in, that's the first thing. So, I'm gonna go over toiletries, because there's a few interesting things about it. If you are stuck in the woods, this is more for camping, but it's just fun, just to know. You need to dig yourself I think it's called a honey pot, a toilet. And so you're gonna need a shovel. And there's all kinds, the military used to carry really heavy folding shovels in like World War II, but that was for trenches. But this is, something like this is really important. So you dig yourself a little toilet spot, and then you hang something so you can find it, like a red handkerchief, so that you can find where that is.
When you go hiking, that's what people do.
You can find it.
Carry your
Now, for soap, I
I thought
learned
in the
something.
woods you just went anywhere,
No,
everywhere.
but you should
It's
bury
After
not-
a while, you
it's-
might want to do it in one
You have to
place.
bury it.
The problem with that is that you are polluting the forest, so. You also, what they used to say at Knowles is you're trying to make sure, you're not trying not to ruin the next person's wilderness experience. So, so you really clean up your campsite and you make sure you fill in your hole and that you don't leave toilet paper. I'm gonna say something about toilet paper in a minute. All right, for soap. I learned, sort of studied a bunch about soap. This is Dr. Bronner's, okay? This is the liquid of this, and it's called All One. And if you look on Amazon, you'll find it under All One, Dr. Bronner's, and I'm gonna read it. See, the reason that this is important is soap pollutes water. And it pollutes a lot of water. So you see people bathing in a stream or a little lake, it's very bad. So this doesn't pollute, it's biodegradable. And anyway, this is Dr. Bronner's Pure Castle Bar Soap, baby scented, 5 ounce. Made with organic oils for face, body, and hair, gentle for sensitive skin and babies, no added fragrance, biodegradable. That was the thing, it's biodegradable. So this is something, if you're environmentally concerned camper, you use this, you don't go with dial soap, And then this one is the same thing in a liquid form. They have this at the health food store, our health food store. And it is the same thing, it's biodegradable. And the reason I have this is for washing your hair or doing your laundry. So these things won't destroy a stream.
Could you read the beginning description of the bar of soap again?
It's called All One. Hopefully you can see, can you see it on there?
Yeah, I can see
All One.
that, but just something about it.
Because
Okay.
there's also these little pieces of paper that,
Sheets, you mean sheets?
sheets, little tiny sheets that you can use to wash your hands and it disappears.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
that'd be good. I didn't know about those.
And there's some organic or earth-friendly variety also.
Now, another thing I learned from studying like experts
In the experts.
is normally you would think you want to bring a bunch of toilet paper. Well, I have a little bit of toilet paper, but the reason I don't have a lot is because what I've heard, and I agree, it makes sense to me, is you carry a plastic bag or a few, and you have some washcloths, and you wipe your bum with a washcloth, and then you clean it out yourself. And then you put it back here, and that way you don't need any more toilet paper. And this is only just to get from now till then, eventually you go back to your old habits. But why be spreading all that paper all over the woods? And this is gonna last longer, and it'll probably clean you better, you can wet
In the
it.
meantime, while you're here, have a bidet.
Oh, easy.
And then all you need is a little towel to dry your hands.
Bring in your
You
bidet.
can use a sponge too, I think, in some countries.
A
don't they
sponge
use
would
natural
work,
sponges?
absolutely. But we always think we have to have the paper.
Yeah.
And it never occurred to me, well, no, because you can clean the thing out over and over. And, okay,
Well, in some
You know,
places, you can use your hand.
Yeah, that's the other
What do they
thing.
do with their hands?
That's the other thing.
Hand and
Yeah,
water,
you're
not
right,
just
Andy,
hand.
left hand.
Have
No, I know, only
a,
the
have a
left.
bucket of water by the, yeah.
That's right.
But you can't, no,
Some of the places I've been where he's talking about, there was no bucket of water.
Now, I have a little fishing kit in case I had just, it's survival, so you think of that. But I have the absolute simplest, most, I don't have a fishing pole, I don't have a reel, because my thing is, you just hang it from a, hey, let's,
All right.
you know, lately at Walmart, they've had these 50-cent cups and bowls, and I picked them up because they're so light. And, you know, I always think I'm going to be there with somebody, because I get lonely or meet somebody bugging out. Or cups like this, you throw them in, and they're so light, they last forever and ever. And also, orange is a really good camping color, because when you're out there and it's night, you won't be able to find your stuff. It'll just disappear in the twilight. So these things help you find your stuff. So I have all kinds of things that are very orange for that reason. Because it's terrible that, you know, you got a knife, it's somewhere by the fire. Where is it? So this is orange, so that's for a purpose.
How about a flashlight?
I forgot to bring, I have all kinds of flashlights. And like Larry, I have a solar panel for charging them, but I didn't bring it, and also the idea of charger for AA batteries that are chargeable, and a whole system. But luckily, he already showed his. But I have that. Mine's a little more portable than his. Mine wasn't $800. These are at Walmart, a set of silverware, you know. And this came with my rice cooker. It's a good thing to throw it in. It's for cooking. Now, when we're getting close to the end here, I bought a machete once. I thought, see, I watched this show called Naked and Afraid on the History Channel, and people are out there actually surviving. And I initially got a really great kukri military machete, and I sold it on eBay, and I got this instead for very little. And because it's, you know, it's more portable. But this is very useful for a whole lot of reasons. It's not for a knife, it's really a hatchet or an axe, or it could, some people have foldable saws, but this is all I have. It's very, very simple.
Bushwhacking.
Yeah, bushwhacking.
Wow.
So, now,
Chris, can I see?
yes,
Can I see the
yes.
Yeah, can I see you see the other knife too? The
Yeah,
orange one?
this knife is made in, Scandinavia, I forget which country, Norway or Sweden, and it's a very famous brand, and they're really inexpensive, and they're incredibly sharp, and they're made of stainless steel. And Larry is the one who told me about these, and then I read all the reviews, and I went, wow, that's actually one of the best knives you could possibly have for like cutting, you know, preparing fish that you caught, just about anything. And what's funny about it is it's like, this is like $9. It's totally razor sharp. It's very visible. You could throw it in the water and it'll float.
Wow.
And it's actually a European, you know, maybe it's Norway. I can't remember which of the three it's from.
Is there a brand name on it?
Yeah, it does.
There is more rack, no.
Larry, how do you pronounce the name of that knife?
That's a Mora,
More
And what's the country? It's Scandinavian.
Swedish.
Swedish. There.
Although Finns make a better one. But
Oh, you didn't tell me that. Yeah, but this one was $9.
oh, I know, they're great.
Yeah.
They're actually
How they could make them in Sweden, did you say?
Sweden.
Yeah.
And sell them for $9.
Transport them here and
Yeah, all that. It's just incredible. They're probably more now.
No, they are still very reasonable.
Like $10.
I've got a couple.
Wow. They're one of the best knives. You'll see the most reviews, thousands of reviews
In
on
fact,
that
it's called a
knife.
Scandi cut because it's
That's a special shape, in other words?
of the blade. The way
Well, I
it
was
comes
thinking it would probably even float in water, I bet. I don't know.
out. It could.
I haven't checked. I haven't tried.
Well, the case would, I don't know about the knife itself because it's kind of heavy,
I don't know.
but I don't know.
I
Get
don't
a
know.
bucket.
We're gonna throw you in the waterway with the
We're
knife.
gonna
Yeah, try it out.
And when the knife comes up to the
Now,
surface.
there's something you can't tell the center about, okay? This is just between us, okay?
So cut the.
I have this idea, I'm gonna catch alligators, not in the center lake, but there's lakes in Briarcliff too that have, everybody's got alligators. Now, how you catch alligators, I wasn't gonna originally tell this, but I just got in the mood. The reason I have, this is paracord. It's the actual cord that they use for parachutes. And so it's very strong. It's invented by the military. There's a lot you can say about paracord. See this where it's fraying like this?
Yeah.
Inside paracord, they have like fishing line and others. Isn't that right? They
Yeah.
have all kinds of survival things in the cord.
You can also start fires with it.
Yeah, it's right. It's a kindling. It's a survival cord. It's created by the military. But now they have it like at Walmart, and it's really not cheap. It's like $8. It's like for a thing like this.
You mean not expensive?
Yeah, but
For what
anyway,
it does, it's not expensive.
for what it does, it's not expensive.
So wait, so you cut a piece to start a fire, or what?
You have to look it up online for all those details. But there's even fishing line in it.
The centerpiece, you can pull it out and it makes fishing line.
That's right.
And the stuff around it, if you cut a piece, you could actually start a fire with it.
Wow.
I like dryer
Doesn't
lint.
Elizabeth
Dryer
Schroeder
lint,
make
dryer lint
bracelets
mixed
from
with
this?
Vaseline starts a great fire.
What, mixed with Vaseline?
Yeah, you mix either cotton balls or dryer lint. You know, everybody saves
Oh, dryer lint.
lint.
The
Oh,
lint
that
from
is
the
bad.
dryer.
Dryer
You
lint.
put some Vaseline on it and it'll start a fire like that. And you don't have to go
And-
find
and it keeps
kindling.
going. That's what's nice about it. And
It's
it
a
will-
very, I've tried it. It's unbelievable.
Oh, yeah, it keeps
Unbelievable.
going.
And also by putting the Vaseline on the dryer lint, by the way, it's dryer, like washer and dryer. Lint, as in.
It took me a minute.
As in,
Yeah, as in, thank you. That dryer lint wrapped in Vaseline also is waterproof.
Yeah.
It could fell in a stream, you still pull it out and start a fire. So it's
Wow.
like all the things they sell you for fire, dryer lint with Vaseline is kind of like
Yeah,
the
and-
best.
Oh my God,
and you
for
can-
50
you can
cents
mix it up.
too.
Wow,
You know,
that's
you mix it up.
You make little balls.
You make little balls,
Yeah,
put it in a little jiffy bag.
exactly.
Throw it in your bag, and that
Exactly.
way.
Maybe we
Also-
can make some money, you know, sell bags of
Oh, well, a lot of people have dryer lint. Oh, that's cute.
I had the hardest
I know
time
what to
throwing
do
away,
with my
just
lint.
was able to throw away some dryer lint. Because I said.
You're throwing away your dryer
Oh
lint?
my God, I would have traveled days.
I'm gonna
Next
start
time,
saving it now.
yeah, next time you do the load of laundry, call me. Okay, so that's that. So, but the point of this is they have a thing called alligator hook. And I learned this from the show Naked and Afraid on the History Channel. You hang with this, because you need something, by the way, this will hold like, will hold like 500 pounds.
Wow.
So you hang a hook, I didn't bring it with me because I thought it would freak people out. And it has hooks going in different directions, and you hang that about 2 feet above the water with some smelly meat on it, like a squirrel. And you come back the next day and you've got an alligator hanging there, like an 8-foot alligator. But that's why you need this, it's gotta be that strong. But also you could build
What do you
tents
do with
and
the
stuff out of
alligator?
this.
And
This
a
is one of your
kettle
most
out of it.
important things, and it's so, throw it in a bag and you've got a lot of rope. This is like 50 feet. So now,
Bonfire.
we're gonna talk about water. Now this stuff looks very simple. Larry and I have talked about all this stuff a lot. These things are kind of like, you kind of have to go through a learning curve, so this is really valuable. I mean, now you're gonna learn it in 1 minute. They make these various kinds of filters. Like this is one. Here's another called the Sawyer. It's a really famous brand. I paid a little more to get orange because I can imagine. Now the reason these are so great, you can filter water through it. This here will filter 100,000 gallons of water.
What?
And it'll take out germs, it'll take out everything. That's why you want to pre-filter it like he showed you with a coffee filter or a cloth, run it through a cloth, because you don't want to jam this up. But if you do end up jamming it up, these things come with a system for you to just low water the opposite direction, and you clean it out, and you keep going and do another 100,000. So that's incredible.
So how
And,
do you pour the water in there?
There is, it comes with everything, but I've never done it, okay? I've not, because I've never, see what I mean? You just put it all together. And and then this bag, you fill with water, and then it attaches somehow,
The other side, I think.
the other side, whatever it is. You put this together, and
You can
you'll find out.
You squeeze the bag. You squeeze the bag and it will push it through.
Thank you. I'm so glad you came back.
I had to take Amy.
No, that's okay.
She apologized.
He's really just the best. And we both have some of these things. And this is just another brand. This one I think is a straw. And you can just put that in your water and drink it and you'll survive.
So where do you buy these?
Amazon, you just look for water filter. But look up portable water filter or camping water filter, and they have them at Walmart, but not as nice as these. These are really nice. And when you look on like the FEMA website, it'll say, you should have stored a gallon per day per person, So you've got 2 people there, and that's, for a week, that's 14 gallons of water, but, that's kind of hard. And then you've got to, change that water every once in a while. That's a lot of work. This way, you automatically have all the water you need. Yeah.
Can I ask a question for
Yeah.
both of you about that, though? I bought one of those one time, and it was almost impossible for me to suck the water through.
Oh.
I mean, it was like this incredible amount of work, and I think I ended up throwing it out. Is that because it was not the correct brand?
This would be a better system for you, because you squeeze the bag and that does the work.
Plastic bag.
Or gravity will do it. You leave it with the
I don't
bath.
mean about cleaning it, I mean about using
No,
it.
We understand.
I'm sorry.
You meant using it as a straw.
You put the dirty water in that bag and then you squeeze it through the filter. And
I have
that
a-
way, you know,
I have a larger bag at home, but I didn't bring everything. It would have been too hard to
So
carry.
what would you look for to get the bag? Would that come along with?
It'll be right there with the stuff, like other accessories.
Thank
Well, you have one?
This is how it comes.
Yeah, I bought something like that, and I just ended up not using it, because I was just experimenting, I didn't need to use
This
it.
is that
but-
type of straw situation.
But it
And-
doesn't, it's not a, you don't have to go like that.
Oh, you do for this?
You do. Okay,
This
well,
one you
that-
don't, the mini Sawyer, the Sawyers.
All right, then that's what I have to.
I didn't know that. That's interesting. You
Yeah,
have to
it
draw
was,
so hard.
so
to
that's
hide.
why, may I make a comment to you? You might want to practice all of this
No,
before you need to. No,
I think
anybody
you're right.
should. so that
Absolutely.
when it's
I know.
push
I've had
come-
these for like 3 years and I've never even tried them. Okay, all my research about water containers for travel on the move with your bug-out bag, this is the best that I learned from all the experts is that a smart water bottle is your best bottle. It's a liter. It's clear plastic. I mean, unless you want, stainless or something, but it's going to be a lot lighter. And then they don't usually come with these tops. You got to get these off something else, or you can order them separately. But this allows you to, drink your water as you go, and then you can close it up. And so, anyway, that's a smart water bottle with one of these. Come on various water bottles. Yeah, like I said, they don't usually. I forget. There's a name for this, and I don't remember what it is. I'm just about done. This, they
Can I say
have
one more
these.
thing about your water bottle
Yep.
there? I recently took a plane flight out to the
Yep.
Heartland Center, and they tend to sell that kind of bottle, the smart water, with that top
Oh.
at like, those places.
Oh.
At airports.
Oh, so they know that you're gonna, yeah, because
I don't know,
it's a
that's-
travel item this
Yeah.
way. Whereas if it's not, it's a little, because, yeah. So, the last thing is this. Oops, and guess what I've got in it?
A small alligator.
Very small alligator,
an 8-foot alligator.
dryer lint,
Out.
in my cooking pot.
Where's the Vaseline?
Well, yeah, I forgot to bring the Vaseline, yeah.
That is so cool to learn.
Yeah, yeah. I that's one I did experiment with, the dryer lint, and but and then for starting fire, there's so many ways, but I really like this lighter. because it's got the, you know, the extender. And a big lighter is probably get you through to the end. But I will show that one other thing I have is,
How does your cooking pot work?
all it is what makes it a good cooking pot is feel the weight. Also, it's got holes up here. So it's not aluminum, it's stainless steel, so it's healthy. And yeah, and it gives you a handle and a lid, and then it's very compactable, goes back together.
Wow, that is cool. Can you start from the beginning, close it and then open it, or maybe can you
Here,
show
I'll
us?
do it. Yeah. So, turn this way. This closes like that.
And
Well, then maybe this one looks like
depending on what
that.
you're cooking, you can start that way to cook.
Well, this will get you through a night, you know? I've got other ones at home, but I mean, for literally a bug-out bag, the thing is, it won't really take up any room because you're gonna put something else in it. So you're doubling the use of the space. That's why I have this in here. But I just, for fun, I didn't know anything about this before, but I'm gonna just show you. Have you ever seen a fire starter? I never had.
For like grills and such, campfires?
Yes, but
Little wood thing?
this is it. Okay. So what I've learned though, well, I'll tell you what I learned. First, I'll show you. That's a very good fire starter.
Oh.
And you put it down like this. There you go.
It goes through table, Judy.
Yeah, actually, I don't
That a
really know
flint?
how to do it.
Flint?
But anyway, it'll
It makes a spark.
It'll make a spark.
Interesting.
Or,
And there's different ones. Actually, this is the same thing. And so it has what's the metal that
It's called a ferro rod.
a ferro rod, and it's
Ferro.
ferro, and it's got, is it metal?
I don't know. Some of them come with aluminum also next to it.
Yeah.
Aluminum will actually burn. So you scrape off a little aluminum
Oh,
oh,
here we
look
go.
at that, far out.
and then
See,
you,
see the spark? But the thing is, the problem is eventually this will scrape off all the material off of this ferrule rod, and so it's only actually good for maybe 1,000 lights. But the thing is, this is good for 1,000 lights. So for all the fun of having this, and it's a lot of trouble to start a fire that way, you'll get just as many lights like that. And it'll be
I'll buy two.
a hell of a lot easier. So I kind of, these are just sort of to feel cool. I've got a fire starter.
well, with the Vaseline and lint, it will.
Oh,
also
it will work with
spark.
that very well, with the Vaseline. But if you forgot your Vaseline and your lint, you got that.
Then you use birch bark, and you scrape the interior part of the birch bark into a little pile, and it will start.
Or
that
dry
ferro.
grass, dry
But wait, we don't have many birch trees.
We have birch.
We do?
We have what's called river birch.
river, yeah.
Wow.
But you can use dry grass, right?
I'm done.
Jay Baba.
Thank you, Jay Bob.
Thank you.
I'm glad you were here, Larry.
Well, this